Yo, what's up my guy? Today we're talking about Valve's new Steam hardware lineup for early 2026 and how it stacks up against the PlayStation 5 console, DualSense, PS VR2, Xbox Series, and Xbox controller. Let's get into it. First, let's start with Valve basically looking at a normal controller and said, cool, but what if this thing controls literally every PC game? So the new Steam controller keeps the regular layout, the A, B, X, Y, the D-pads, trigger, bumpers, but lays a ton of tech on top of it. A magnetic TMR thumbsticks to fight drift, a competitive touch on the stick and the back grips, 2 big backtracks with haptic feedbacks, 4 back grip buttons, motion control with grip sense to toggle gyro just by holding it by the side, and 4 separate haptic motors for both trackpads and grips. Compared to Sony, the DualSense has an amazing haptic and adaptive triggers, no questions, while Xbox controllers are super comfortable and rock solid, but both are still traditional pads. They are perfect for games designed around them, not so perfect for older PC titles, MMO, or mouse-heavy games. Steam controller is built to blur that line. You can use the trackpad like a mouse, gyro for fine aiming, and Steam input to remap absolutely everything. That's huge if you live on the PC and bounce between genres. Battery life is another big angle. Valve is promising 35 plus hours on the built-in Lion batteries, charging through the park. The park itself is the low latency 2.4 GHz wireless with around 8 millimeters end to end, and it acts as a magnetic charger. You just snap the controller onto it. You can still do Bluetooth or wire USB-C if you want, compared to the DualSense, which feels great but tends to die fast, and the Xbox, which lasts longer but still relies on AA or extra pack. If Valve delivers good default presets and keeps the interface clean, this could become the go-to PC controller, especially since it works everywhere Steam runs: PC, deck, phone, Steam machine, and even as the track controller inside the Steam frame. But I don't see it replacing the DualSense on games as God of War or Spider-Man. Those are still best on Sony's own pad, but let's wait until the controller is released or when we hear it from first-hand reviewers. Steam Machine is basically a tiny 6-inch cube you can shove on the UTB or literally hide it on the banana if you're feeling goofy. Inside that little box, Valve is claiming a 4K 60 frames gaming with FSR using a semi-custom AMD Zen 4 CPU, 6-core 12-thread up to 4.8 GHz, and an RDNA 3 GPU with 28 compute units and 110W TDP. On paper, that puts it the same performance class as a PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, and maybe ahead on some scenario, especially with the FSR helping at 4K. What does that matter when the PS5 and the Xbox Series are still beasts? That's true, but they stuck on a fixed hardware and a closed OS. Steam Machine gives you a console-style power while staying a PC. You get 60GB DDR5 system RAM plus 8GB of GDDR6 and VRAMs, so it behaves more like a real gaming rig than a console with one unified memory pool that could help certain PC titles that are already tuned for that layout. Connectivity wise, it's stacked. A display port of 1.4 up to crazy high refresh 4K and even 8K, HDMI 2.0 for 4K 120, and a mix of USB-A and USB-C, a Gigabit Ethernet with a Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth of 5.3, and internal power supply, no giant brick by the way, and a micro SD slot on top of the 512GB or 2TB VMe. Compared to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox, you're basically trading their super clean plug-in and forget it design for more flexibility in display, storage, and accessories. And then there's the Steam OS. You still get the suspend/resume, cloud saving, couch UI, and a Steam Machine verified rating system so you can see how your games are expected to run, just like the Deck verified. The Sony and Microsoft biggest traditional advantage simplifies and reliability, and Valve is going directly at that. But you can still drop to the KDE desktop, install apps, or even a different OS if you want. The PlayStation 5 definitely wins on exclusivity and simple lockdown stability, but Steam Machine wins on freedom and long-term flexibility. To be honest with you, if Valve nails the software polish and price, this doesn't kill console, but it becomes a legit third option. Well, scratch that because I don't think people will still buy an Xbox even though their games are multi-plat, but Microsoft did confirm that they still want to release a next generation console. But anyways, but this is good though because it will allow them, but mostly Sony, to be more of a PC friendly side with the hybrid, and especially how now that Sony is going to start doing their own personal handheld for the PlayStation 6. And on to the final topic. Steam Frame is Valve's next-gen VR headset that also double as the little standalone PC in your face. You're getting a 2160 by 2160 per eye, up to 144 refresh rate, pancake lenses, inside-out camera tracking, built-in audio, and about 440 gigabytes total with that strap. There is a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 inside with a 16 gigabyte of LPDDR5X and up to 1 terabyte of UFS storage plus a micro SD. That means you can play some VR and non-VR games natively on the headset with Steam OS, no PC required. The big move though is streaming. You get Wi-Fi 7 on the headset plus a dedicated Wi-Fi 6E adapter in the box that creates a direct, low latency link between your PC and headset. And it has eye tracking and foveated streaming. You got high-vet visuals exactly where you're looking at while saving bandwidth in your peripheral vision. That's a smart way to push image quality without needing an observed GPU. Controllers are also built for double duty. Full VR motion tracking plus all the standard gamepads including the ABXY, the D-pad, the sticks, the trigger, the bumpers, and the same magnetic capability stick as the Steam controller. Each run at a single AA battery with around 40 hours of life. So you could jump between Beat Saber style games and flat games on a giant virtual screen without swapping hardware. Now compare that to the PlayStation VR2. Sony headset is also high in resolution, has great optics, eye tracking, and integrates deeply with the PlayStation 5, even though Sony does sell an adapter for PC units. But it tenders with cable and you will lose access to the PlayStation VR2 features like the headset vibration, adaptive triggers, and HDR quality that are exclusive to the PlayStation 5. You will need to meet a certain PC certification, including a DisplayPort of 1.4 connection, and connect the adapter directly to you. And to be honest with you, even with the release of these Valve hardware, I don't think that it's going to replace the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, or the PS VR2, but it will absolutely put pressure on them. If Valve delivers on performance, price, and polish, Sony and Microsoft will have to respond with a better, powerful next-gen machine that won't cost us an arm and a leg. Alright my guy, I want to hear from you. Will you keep your PlayStation 5 or Xbox as your main setup and add a Steam machine on the side? Or could this actually replace your console long term? And which controller will you ride if you had to pick one? Would it be the DualSense, the Xbox, or the new Steam controller? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Thanks for watching my guy.